students. My name is Ehiaga Benjamin Emant. I'll take you through literature in English. First, let us start by looking at the meaning of the word literature. Literature comes from the Latin word lettera, which means acquainted with letters. With this in mind, literature has many definitions. One definition of the word literature is any body of written works. Another definition of literature is any written materials which educate, inform, or instruct. As a field of study, literature could be defined as an artistic expression of thoughts, emotions, experiences, and imaginations through the effective use of style, rhetoric, and figures. Now, with all of these definitions in mind, what do we mean when we say literature in English? Literature in English refers to literary works written in English language, irrespective of the nationality of the author. Another definition for literature in English is literary works like novels, stories, poems, non-fiction, and plays composed in English. Basically, there are three types of genre in literature. The different types of genre are 1. Poetry, 2. Drama, and 3. Prose. Prose can be divided into fiction and non-fiction. Now, why is it important that we study literature? What would this course help students to achieve? But the objectives of literature include helping students to be able to identify, analyze, interpret, and describe the critical ideas, values, and themes that appear in literary and cultural texts, and understand the way these ideas, values, and themes inform and impact culture and society, both now and in the past. Under literature in English, the following are the different topics we would discuss. Number 1, drama. 2, prose. 3, poetry. 4, general literary principles. 5, literary appreciation. Now, the first one is drama. What is drama? Drama is defined as the reenactment of life through the actions of characters on a stage. It is the imitation of life. Drama is man's attempt to create or reenact real life situation with the intention of teaching and entertaining the audience. Now, there are different forms of drama. So, what are these forms of drama? Well, that brings us to the subtopics forms of drama. Number 1, tragedy. What do we mean by tragedy? This is a serious or solemn play that has a sad ending and imparts fear and pity into the audience. For example, Shakespeare's Macbeth. Number two, comedy. What is comedy? This is a play which has humorous events and a pleasant ending. An example is Shakespeare's Twelfth Night. Number three, tragic comedy. Tragic comedy is a play which has both humorous incidents and traits of tragic events. It combines tragedy and comedy. There is tension at the beginning and laughter at the end. Number four, melodrama. Melodrama is an extreme form of tragedy in which there is opposition between virtue and vice. It involves lots of death. Number five, farce. Farce is a play that is full of silly characters, or you could also define it as a play that is full with silly characters. Number six, opera. An opera is a theatrical work combining drama, music, song, and sometimes dance. Now we want to discuss dramatic techniques. Now, under dramatic techniques, we have the following. Number one, characterization. What do we mean by characterization? This is the dramatic or artistic representation of the lives and actions of the people who constitute the play. These people are known as characters. They are the actors and the actresses you have in a play or a movie. Number two, dialogue. Dialogue is the talk or conversation between characters in the play through which the audience understands the characters and the circumstances under which certain things happen. Number three, flashback. What do we mean by flashback? They are interruptions that writers do to insert past events in order to provide background or context to the current event of a narrative. Number four, mime. Mime is a demonstration play which does not require dialogue or speech. The act or technique of portraying a character, mood, idea, or narration by gestures and bodily movements. An example of this is Rowan Atkinson in Mr. Bean. If you've seen the movie Mr. Bean, what Rowan Atkinson does, it's what we call mime. He portrays a character, mood, idea by gestures and bodily movements. Number five, costume. Costume is a style of dress characteristic of a certain profession. It is also clothes worn for an event or a play. Now we have example as you can see on the screen. The first example you see there, it's a lawyer. That's the costume. So if someone wants to act that character, it has to dress like a lawyer by putting on those clothes. The second example you have there is a Superman. Then the third example is a Reverend Father. These are the different costume that an actor or an actress can put on to act out a play. Number 6, music and dance. Music is a vocal or instrumental sounds combined in such a way as to produce beauty of form, harmony, and expression of emotion. What about dance? Well, dance is a series of steps and movements that match the speed and rhythm of a piece of music. Number 7, decor and scenery. Decor and stage scenery designer or set designers, as they are also known, are artists who design the decor or sets for theatrical performances, television programs, films, and corporate launches. The next one is acts and scenes. An act is a part of a play defined by elements such as rising action, climax, and resolution. A scene is a part of an act defined with a changing of character. The next one is soliloquy and aside. When a character thinks aloud or says what he is thinking of loudly to himself, you call it soliloquy. While aside is an aspect of dramatic monologue in which a character talks to himself alone on a stage with only the audience observing. It is usually accompanied with demonstration, though it happens at times. A soliloquy and an aside are similar, but they are not the same. The main difference is that a soliloquy is a long speech, while an aside is a short comment. Next is the theme. The theme is the subject matter or central idea of a play. A play or any work of art may have so many themes. The major theme that runs through the whole work, around which other minor themes revolve, is called the motif. Next is plot. A plot is a literary term used to describe the events that make up a story or the main part of a story. These events relate to each other in a pattern or a sequence. The structure of a novel depends on the organization of events and the plot of the story. Next is the setting. The setting refers to the time, place, and social economic background of events of the play. Locale refers to a particular scene of an event. It is usually smaller than the general setting, though it is part of it. A play may have a general setting, but it must have a particular locale, which is particular spot of an event. So from this video, we have learned a lot about drama. I started by defining drama as the reenactment of life through the actions of characters on a stage. I also gave you the different forms of drama. Remember we talked about tragedy? Do you still remember what it means? A serious play that has a sad ending. We talked about comedy, which is a play that has humorous events and a pleasant ending. We talk about tragic comedy. It's a play that starts with tension but ends with laughter. Then we talk about melodrama. We say melodrama is an extreme form of tragedy in which there is opposition between virtue and vice. I also talk about farce. A farce is a play that is full of silly characters. And opera. Opera is a theatrical work combining drama, music, song, and sometimes dance. We also talk about dramatic techniques. And under dramatic techniques, we talked about characterization, dialogue, flashback, mime, costume, music and dance, decor and cinema. Discuss so far.